Living Without Fear, Session 2. To live without fear of what lies ahead, we need to know who God really is. And to do this, I'm going to look at the story of the Hebrew people leaving Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt, but God was going to free them and make them his own and live in a land that he had promised for them. Now we know the story that Pharaoh was not happy to let his slave population go. Each time he said they could go, he would change his mind. And each time he said no, there was a plague. And the plague didn't stop until he relented and said yes, they could go. What we don't often realise is that each of these plagues related directly to one of the Egyptian gods. Each plague could only be stopped by God, so what it was showing them that the Egyptian gods were actually powerless. God was in control. What pushed Pharaoh over the edge finally was not so much the horror of the night when all the firstborn died, but the fact that his firstborn died, because the Egyptians believed that Pharaoh was the one responsible for sustaining all life, and he himself had been shown to be powerless. And this is the first lesson to learn about God. He is all-powerful. Nothing can stop him. He's in control of all things. And so the Hebrew people set out into the desert. Now, the quickest way to the Promised Land would have been to take the coastal route, and it would have been much more pleasant because it would have been more green and fertile. They could have got there in 14 days. But there was a huge obstacle in their way, and that was the Philistine people. They were a very advanced civilization and they were powerful. And God knew that if he took this band of slaves straight into the face of the Philistines, that they would just give up and want to go back home. So instead, he led them out into the desert. They had to take a much longer route to the Promised Land. But the first thing to note is he led them. They weren't being sent to wander and hope they might find their way. God was leading them in the way that he needed them to go. So Exodus 13:21 says, "By day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people." God never leaves us without guidance. We don't tend to get pillars of smoke or pillars of fire, but we do have the scriptures. Scriptures tell us how God wants us to live. We also have the privilege of being able to speak with him in prayer, and God will guide. Psalm 32:8, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye." And in Psalm 119:105, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path." God doesn't leave us to wander through life. He will lead us on the path that we should go.